Hi, Jakey Steve here, the long-haired freaky dude, and today's letter is A! And today I'm going to review the Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Now, this is a classic piece of American literature, but as tends to be the case with many of the pre-Twain American novels that I read, his style of writing, it was just less than captivating. This book was just so slow to read. I mean, this book might only be 60,000 words, but it took me a few weeks to read. I just couldn't stay interested. I kept losing my focus. I kept wanting to pick something else to read. It was a bad time. But I started the book, so I endured to the end. Unfortunately, not only was the style of writing less than captivating, but it also had a less than interesting plot. Even so, there were some insightful quotes, and Hawthorne did have his poetic moments, which were quite enjoyable. So what the Scarlet Letter is about is a girl, Hester Prynne, who has committed adultery and has therefore had a scarlet letter A sewn onto her shirt. The A stands for adultery. And she also has a child who is the product of adultery. I mean, the letter, it's not even burned onto her face or anything. It's just sewn onto her clothes. I mean, it's not like they took a brand and no, they just went whoop, whoop. Boom, you could take it off at night. I mean, really. Now, one might think that this book would be about her and her struggle with the world in coping with the Scarlet Letter and its connotations, and the shame that comes with it. For a majority of the book, people actually don't give a damn about the letter. What do you know? Neither did I. Most of the book is actually about her inward struggle with the letter and its connotations. I guess this book is sort of a story of overcoming inner demons, I suppose, of letting go of our past. Let it go, don't hold it back anymore, I suppose. With that perspective, there was a little to learn from this story, but otherwise it was just dreadful and less than compelling. Oh no, a girl got knocked up! It happens all the time. I mean, I suppose back then it was a big deal, and nowadays it still is a deal. But the book doesn't even make it out to be a big deal, except for right when it happened. If it did make it out to be like a big deal, like everyone was trying to like freaking kill her, spitting on her every time she walked by, then yeah, I think the book would have been more interesting. But people actually didn't give a damn, like, you know, it's very much like today. People don't give a damn. I was expecting some interesting turn of events to come from this. I mean, bearing in mind that Hawthorne's House of Seven Gables inspired the most bodacious Vincent Price movie, I had the hopes that something, you know, mystical or demonic was going to happen. You're like, maybe your child turned out to be Satan or something fun like that. Nope. Oh well. In the end, we do find out who her adulterer was. I mean, it wasn't too big of a shock for me. I seen it coming. I mean, it's foreshadowed from the very beginning. The minister knocked her up. Oh my. At least he wasn't raping a child. Eventually, he confesses his sin to the city, and then he dies on the spot right where he made the confession, which is really kind of weird. Dying from self-pity. Pitiful. So the plot, it just seemed too simple. And the characters, they just weren't believable to me. And death from self-pity. I don't buy it. I don't have any sympathy for that man. It's just pathetic. I don't know, whatever Hawthorne was trying to make me feel for the minister, I feel the opposite. You know, I guess all this is just coming from my modern perspective, where adultery just isn't that big of a deal in today's world. I mean, there's worse things that people could do. And, you know, this is coming from a modern perspective where adultery isn't really that big of a deal. I was kind of hoping that it would be a big deal in this book, in the Scarlet Letter, but it wasn't. I just, you know, it felt like it was like people from today back in the Salem times. It just wasn't interesting. Anyways, I'll stop there and read some quotes which I actually did like from the book. Dames were accustomed to distill drops of bitterness into her heart, sometimes through the alchemy of quiet malice, but which woman can conduct subtle poison from ordinary trifles. A more poetic way of describing the silent treatment. There you have it, people. The silent treatment existed even in Hawthorne's time, which I find absolutely amusing. The outward guise of purity was but a lie, in that if truth were everywhere to be shown, a Scarlet Letter would blaze forth on many a bosoms beside Hester Prynne's. Maybe this is why I dislike the Scarlet Letter, because there's so many darn hypocrites. See, I mean, even Hawthorne points it out, almost everyone in here, I mean, a lot of people are probably adulterers as it is. So, I mean, Hester Prynne is no special case. I mean, the only difference between her and everyone else on the street is that she got caught. High and mighty people thinking they're better than Hester. It makes me sick. Maybe it's not the Scarlet Letter I had a problem with, just the setting in which it took place. At one point, her adulterer Dimmesdale sees an image in the clouds, to which Hawthorne says, "but with no such shape as his guilty imagination gave it." I think this is one of the more insightful things that Hawthorne mentions. It details how so often our guilt can shape our perceptions of the world. It can make us see things that aren't there, or at the very least, cause us to misinterpret things. It can make us see things which aren't there, or at the very least cause us to misinterpret things which we actually do see. In describing the mood of how the public changed over time towards Hester Prynne's adultery, we get this quote: "Hatred by a gradual and guilt process will eventually be transformed to love, unless the change is impeded by a continually new irritation of the original feeling of hostility." Time and forgiveness are symbiotic. It reminds me of how whenever I was a little kid and, I'd get mad at my parents and go pout and run away and tell them how I'd never want to talk to them again, and then an hour later I'd be talking to them and laughing with them like nothing had ever happened. Given time, hatred will indeed turn to love. And one final quote, similar to the last one: "It is to the credit of human nature that, except where its selfishness is brought into play, it loves more readily than it hates." Sometimes after watching the news, I find this hard to believe. But if you look hard enough, it turns out it might just be true. I think love is more readily available than hate. Maybe not by much, but it does have the upper hand. Otherwise, hate would prevail, and of course we wouldn't be here because everyone would be killing everybody. And here's one last one, probably my favorite quote from the whole book. "Raises eyebrow dubiously." I love that. I've got to use that more often in my writing. He raised his eyebrow dubiously. Well, that's the Scarlet Letter. Maybe you'll enjoy it, maybe you'll get more out of it than I did. I know a lot of people like it, so you might as well give it a shot. I know I'm the only one I know who doesn't like it. Personally, I just didn't care for it. What can I say? Can't like everything. Well, that's the Scarlet Letter. I encourage you to read it, despite my poor review of it, and I want you to form your own opinions, because, like I said, a lot of people do like it. So, you might be one of those people. Feel free to have any comments, questions, or concerns. Feel free to bash my opinion as much as you want in the comments section below, however vulgar you might be. Oh, I'm Jakey Steve, the long-haired freaky dude. If you want to see more great book reviews, then might I suggest checking out my channel and hitting the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See y'all in the next video. Have a great day.